Hello everyone!
Welcome to our channel. Today we will knit and prepare the bikini top you see on the screen together. I have explained the bikini top in detail in the instructions. I made this bikini top suitable for small and medium sizes. You can adapt it to your own size by increasing the number of stitches and rows according to your body. If you use this bikini top you see in different colors, it will look very beautiful and striking in the summer. For example, you can make the edges white again. You can make the inner part, the middle part, and the bottom part here. The patterned part, dark blue or any shade of blue. Green colors will also look very nice. Orange will look very nice again. I chose the color red here. I hope you enjoy watching the video. I hope the video has been clear for you. I hope you enjoy working on the project as well. Let's move on to our detailed instructions. Before we proceed to the detailed instructions, here's a close-up of the texture of the yarn I used. It is 45% acrylic and 55% cotton. The crochet hook size I used is 2.10 millimeters. First by chaining 17 stitches.
I'm starting my knitting.
Let's pull our chains and come back. I pulled 17 chains and came back. Now I'm pulling 3 more chains. These 3 chains I pulled are my first double crochet. Aha seçimi. Listen, I wrap the yarn around the hook onesie and turns my chains upside down. We will start our work using these dashed lines on the back of the chains. Then the 3 chains I pulled, I leave it and start double crocheting from the 4th chain. I also make 1 double crochet in the next chain. I crochet another double crochet into the next one. I continue this way until I reach at the end of the row, until only the last chain remains. Let's crochet our double crochets until we reach the last chain and come back. Yes, I crocheted 1 double crochet into each of my chains and I have 1 chain left at the end. Into this last chain, I crochet 4 double crochets.
1, 2, 3,
and
4,
Now I make 1 chain in between.
then I'm turning to the front part of my chains. This is the part where we crocheted by inserting into the back dashed line. This is the V-shaped front part of my chains. I'm coming to the front part and making 4 more double crochets into the same chain where I inserted the first one. As you can see, I made 4 double crochets into my last chain. I made 1 chain and then made 4 more double crochets.
Now.
Until the end of all my remaining chains. Until this point, I will make one double crochet in each of the 3 chains. Let me make one double crochet in each of my chains and let's see the end. I crocheted double crochets in all the remaining chains until the end of the row. I have 2 chains left at the end. I crochet 2 double crochets into these 2 chains. Finally, there are the 3 chains I pulled at the beginning, since we consider these 3 chains as one double crochet. Here, by inserting into the chain, I crochet 1 double crochet here as well. Then I chain 3. And I turn my work. Here I don't touch the first double crochet that meets us, which we last made in the row below, because I actually consider the 3 chains as a double crochet made on top of this double crochet. I make a double crochet into the next one.
In order.
I crochet 1 double crochet into the top of each double crochet until a single chain. Until reaching the space, I will crochet 1 double crochet into each until reaching the 1 chain space I created here. Let's crochet our double crochets until reaching the 1 chain space and see what we do in the 1 chain space. As I mentioned, I crocheted 1 double crochet into the top of each stitch and finally reached a 1 chain space. Into this 1 chain wide space, I crochet 2 double crochets. Then I make a 1 chain. And in the same space, I crochet 2 more double crochets. Now I will crochet double crochets into the top of each of my remaining stitches until the end of the row. Here I push the loop a little so that make sure the top of this double crochet doesn't stay under the stitches so I can see it and crochet my double crochet on top of it. If you skip this double crochet, your work will have slippage and unevenness. If you pay attention to this, you will achieve a neat result. Let's continue to the end of the row by making 1 double crochet on top of each crochet as I showed. And here we have 3 chains again. Let's see again how we work into these 3 chains. As I mentioned, I made 1 double crochet on top of each crochet. Finally, I have 1 more treble top left. I insert into it and make 1 double crochet, and I am met with 3 chains. I insert into the chain at the very top of the 3 chains here, and at this point make 1 double crochet, and I turned my work again by chaining 3. In the same way, we do not insert into the top of the last double crochet we made in the previous row here, because the 3 chains are already connected to the top of this double crochet, and we consider these 3 chains as 1 double crochet, starting from the next one until we reach a 1 chain space.
To each one.
I make 1 double crochet.
We are knitting.
Let's crochet one double crochet into the top of each treble until we reach a chain space, and in a chain space let us see what we need to do again. Yes, we have reached a one chain space, and at this point, as in the previous row, we first knit 2 double crochets. Then I chain 1 and crochet 2 more double crochets into the same space. And then, as I mentioned, again by inserting into the top of each double crochet
until the end of the row.
I will crochet a double crochet. Let's come to the end of this row. Let's see how we stitch into the 3 chains. Let's start the next row. Yes, again we made 1 double crochet into the top of each of our crochets. We've reached the end point again. Here we see 1, 2, 3 chains. Here I insert into the 3rd chain and crochet a double crochet at this point. I do not skip these 3 chain points because I consider the 3 chains as a double crochet. From here on, it continues in exactly the same way. I will go up with 3 chains and turn. I will crochet 1 double crochet into the top of each treble I see here until I reach the 1 chain space. When I reach the 1 chain space, I will crochet 2 double crochets into this wide space. I will chain 1 and crochet 2 more double crochets into the same space. Then I will make 1 double crochet into the top of each treble crochet I see here until the end of the row. Finally, I will also insert into the 3rd chain of the 3 chains here. I will make a double crochet there, chain 3 again, turn my work and complete the next row in the same way. We have knitted a total of 3 rows together so far. We will continue our knitting for 7 more rows, so we will continue for a total of 10 rows. Let's complete the 10 rows and come back. Yes, I knitted the remaining 7 rows as I mentioned and completed my knitting to a total of 10 rows.
Now,
here, finally, I make 1 chain, and at this point I will cut and remove the yarn. We need to knit 1 more piece exactly the same way. I knitted and prepared that one in the same way. This is also 10 rows. This is also the same too. Both of my pieces are identical. I knitted both for 10 rows and completed my knitting. At this point, these parts, the chest sections, are now finished. These points are finished. Next is the stage of knitting the lower part of the chest sections, that is the body part. Let's see how we do that together. Yes, to prepare the body part first in total.
We make 130 chains.
If we loosen the setting of our chains by 1 notch while weaving, we won't experience tension. We won't experience rippling in our knitting. Let me complete my chains to 130 chains and come back. I have pulled 130 chains and I am back. Now I am pulling a turning chain. With this, it becomes a total of 131 chains. Then I turn my chain upside down.
And I will continue to crochet using these dashed lines on the back of my chain. I leave the last chain I pulled.
Finished, I crochet a single crochet into the next chain. Continue this way to the end of the row.
I will crochet a single crochet in each. In total, I will have 130 single crochets.
Let's crochet all our single crochets like this and come back. As I mentioned, I crocheted a single crochet into each of my chains until the end of the row. Now I'm moving on to the second row. I start by chaining 4. In this row, we will crochet the mesh pattern. We consider 3 of the 4 chains as a double crochet. We consider the 4th chain as a chain we will pull in between. That's why I consider it connected to the last single crochet I made here. I consider this as a double crochet that I made here, and without counting this, I leave a space and make a double crochet in the next one and chain 1 in between. I leave a space in between in the next one. I crochet a single crochet. Oh, I crochet a double crochet. I'm very sorry. Again, I chain 1, skip a single crochet, insert into the next one. I crochet another double crochet and chain 1. I continue this process throughout the entire row. I chain 1 in between. I skip 1 single crochet below and make a double crochet. In the next one, I chain 1 in between. I skip 1 single crochet and make a double crochet in the next one. Let's do this until the end of the row. Let's complete our row and come back. I crocheted all my double crochets to the end of the row as I mentioned. Finally, I crocheted 1 double crochet into my last single crochet, and at this point, now we move on to the next row. Here I don't make any chain for turning. I directly insert into the first double crochet. I pulled up a loop and made a single crochet. Into the second double crochet, I insert a single crochet in the same way into the 1 chain space, a single crochet. I insert into the top of the double crochet, a single crochet, into the 1 chain space, a single crochet. I insert into the top of the double crochet, a single crochet, into the chain space, again a single crochet, a single crochet on top of the double crochet. I complete my entire row with single crochets like this. Let's complete our entire row and come back. As I mentioned, I completed my entire row with single crochets. A single crochet on top of a double crochet, a single crochet into the 1 chain space. I reached the end of the row. Here I am met by the 4 chains I pulled at the beginning. Now I first make a single crochet into the white space here. Then, by inserting into the third of the 4 chains I pulled, I complete my row by crocheting a single crochet at this point. As I said, when we reach the 4 chain section, at this point, first make a single crochet into the white space, then make a single crochet into the 3rd chain.
The reason we crochet into the white space is that we also made single crochets into the one chain spaces here. Here we considered our fourth chain as a single chain pulled in between. Since we considered the 3 chains as a double crochet, we made a single crochet into the third one. Now I'm going up again with 4 chains. Then I turn my work and repeat the same steps. Here, I do not count the last single crochet I made. Into the one after the next, meaning this last single crochet I made, the single crochet connected to the 3 chains. I am not counting this. I insert into the top of the single crochet after the next one, make a double crochet here and chain 1. I skip the next single crochet and insert into the following single crochet to make another double crochet here. In this way, I leave a space, make a double crochet and always chain 1 in between.
I will repeat this process continuously.
Now let's look at what we did from start to finish. First, we started with single crochet, then we crocheted the mesh row. After that, we reached the end of the row by making a single crochet into each mesh and 1 chain space. We went up with 4 chains.
At this point, we have our mesh row again.
We crochet a double crochet. Leaving a space below, we crochet a double crochet into the next single crochet and always chain 1 in between. The next row will again be a single crochet row. As I mentioned, we will crochet single crochets as we see in the row below, 1 on top of the double crochets and 1 in the chain spaces. Then we will return to the mesh row again, we will return to the single crochet row again, we will continue in this way.
Let's continue knitting until it reaches the desired length.
Let's bring our knitting to the sufficient length, complete it and come back again. Yes, as I mentioned, I completed a total of 7 rows of knitting and came back. 4 of these 7 rows, as you can see here, are single crochet rows and 3 are mesh rows made of double crochet. I have completed this knitting, now I'm putting it aside, it will wait. Now let's see how we joined the 2 pieces we knitted before. Yes, I have also taken the other 2 pieces I knitted. Now, as you can see, I am at the front of both of these. Now I will first turn them inside out.
Låt oss ta stiskan. Then, from the reverse side like this.
I will join the stitches so they stand side by side. And here I had prepared my yarn for sewing. My yarn is ready. I threaded it through the needle. I also tied a knot at the end, and here. I passed through the first stitch on the other side in the same way. I passed through the first stitch. Let's even pass through here. I passed through the first stitches.
And I pull my yarn.
Then, I'm coming to this side.
And from here, I pass my needle through the second stitch. I passed my needle through the second stitch here and again. And again, I pull my yarn. I tighten my thread so that it doesn't come undone. Now again, I
I am passing my needle through the next stitch. I am also passing my needle through the corresponding next stitch.
And in this way,
I'm sewing.
We have now sewn a total of 3 stitches.
Let me check after 3 stitches. I will continue sewing in the same way until I reach the 10th stitch, that is the 10th stitch here, the 10th stitch on both sides. Let me show you like this. I have sewn 3 stitches here. I will sew 7 more stitches in the way I showed, complete it, and join these 2 pieces. Let's sew this. Sew the remaining 7 stitches together and come back. I sewed the remaining 7 stitches together as I mentioned. In total, I sewed 10 stitches together here. The back looks like this. The front looks like this too.
Now, this mesh piece we knitted. This piece. Center this.
Center the 2 and from here again. I will sew it. Let me center this. Let me find the right places. Then let's come back and start sewing again. Let's see how we combine this. I have adjusted where I need to sew on my knitting, as I mentioned. I didn't have stitch markers. I placed a safety pin here. I did the same on this side to indicate where I need to sew. As for how I did it, first I looked at the measurements of both in centimeters. Then I checked which row I should place this piece on, and here in total there are 12 boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I placed a safety pin on this railing. I will join this part right here, the end part. On this side there are 11 boxes. Why are there 11 boxes? Let me show you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Because here I have 2 double crochet stitches standing side by side. That's why there are 11 squares here. On the other side I have 12 squares. Now, as you can see, the front side of both, the front side of this piece, the front side of my small piece, and the front side of my other 2 pieces. Now, I am placing these 2 pieces from the back like this. In fact, let's hide the excess yarn here first, then place it. If we hide it tightly between the stitches like this, there will be no unraveling. Yes, I hid it this way. I will now cut and remove this remaining thread from here.
I also cut off the excess of my thread and removed it, as I mentioned.
Also, what Bikaki side of my knitting is already visible. I have stitches here. I will cut these threads later.
Now first I place this end exactly over the stitch I have marked here. Then I had already prepared my needle again, and let's be careful to start from the top at this part, starting from this end section. It will be a bit difficult to insert the needle at this point.
And from here, like this.
When I slightly shift my stitch marker, as I mentioned, it's a bit difficult to pass my needle through the first stitches here because the first stitch is a bit tight on the other piece. Let me pass this through and come right back. I passed it through my first stitch as I mentioned. Here, as you know, there are double crochets and single crochets. Single crochets, sorry. There are chains. There are edges made of 3 chains in this part. How do we join this part now? Here I first insert into the top part of the treble crochet. I insert into the top part of the treble crochet's wing like this and into the next stitch.
I'm sewing.
Yes, I passed it through the first loop of the stitch. From the first loop of the stitch I mentioned, from the top loop of the treble crochet. Now I pass it through the lower loop and continue sewing by passing my needle through the opposite stitch. Yes, I sewed this point as well. Now let me take my thread to this side.
Now I have sewn the 2 wings of the first double crochet. Then
here I encounter the chain. I had 3 chains, if you remember. Sorry, 4. No, I had 3 chains. Yes, there were 4 in the row below. I had 3 chains, if you remember. I insert into the back loop of these 3 chains here at the dashed line and also into the opposite stitch. In short, I am inserting into the points that come opposite each other and joining them tightly by stitching without skipping. This is how I showed how I stitched the post where I inserted the chain part too.
as I mentioned, now the next chain.
The opposite stitch. Let's sew this way until the end of the row. To each treble crochet and chain, stitch to the opposite piece and come back. I hope how I sewed it is clear. Where I inserted the needle. At this point, you can directly slip stitch into these wide gaps and into the opposite stitches to join these wide gaps, the gaps of the double crochets with slip stitches. I found sewing easier, so I prefer to sew. It's entirely up to your preference. Let's complete this. Let's join it all together this way. And let's come back. I stitched all my stitches reciprocally through the appropriate gaps as I mentioned. It looks twisted, but when you open it with your hand like this, it straightens out quite easily. Now, finally, I tied a knot here. Then I will pass this thread through these stitches with the help of a needle and cut my thread.
This much concealment will be sufficient. Now I will cut and remove my thread. Yes. Now, if we look at the front side, it looks like this. A white neat, quite clean. As I mentioned, you can also join this with slip stitch. I did not prefer to join with slip stitch because let me show you like this. Since we joined from these parts, because we would insert into these parts during slip stitching, there would be an opening downwards in these areas. That's why I didn't prefer to join with slip stitching. I preferred to join by sewing. I sewed the two pieces using the same yarn I knitted with. If you want, I think it's called invisible thread or ghost thread. There are transparent fishing line style threads. You can sew with those too. You can also sew with thinner threads of the same color. It's entirely up to your preference. Whichever method is easier for you, you can choose that one. Now, from this point on, we have completed this part as well. If I need to show it, it's like this. This is the back part in its final form. This is the front part. It looks like this. Now we will make the lace parts that we will tie to the neck on the shoulders here. Then on its back, we will also make the lace parts. And we will have completed our knitting. Before the lace and back parts, I want to edge this or my knitting with white yarn. Let me prepare everything. Let me prepare my white yarn and come back. Let's see how we decorate the edges with white yarn. Yes, I got my white yarn. I made one stitch with my white yarn. Now I am taking my knitting. And first, I insert into the top of the first single crochet I see here and secure it with a single crochet. Then I crochet a single crochet into each single crochet in sequence. Like this. Let's completely finish this part and see how we transition to this section. I completed this part as I mentioned. And now I am moving to the side part here. In the transition area, there is a gap. I crochet here without skipping. Then I crochet a single crochet into the top of each treble crochet I see in order. I will continue crocheting my single crochets in this way until I reach my one chain space. Let's complete this part and see what we do when we reach the one chain space. I made a single crochet on top of the last double crochet before the chain here, and I'm coming to the one chain space here. I make a slip stitch here, then I will go up by chaining a total of 80. I pull my chains a bit looser than the setting I usually crochet so that it's easier to work. Let's crochet a total of 80 chains and come back. As I mentioned, I prepared my 80 chains here and came back. Finally,
I make one turning chain. Then I turned my chains over. I will continue to crochet using the dashed lines on the back. I will use these parts. Now, after one turning chain, I will return to the starting point by making a slip stitch into each chain until the end of the row. In this way, I make a slip stitch into each chain. Let's complete all our slip stitches, reach the end of the row, and see how we join at this point again.
Here, as I mentioned, I made a slip stitch into each of my total of 80 chains and reached the end of the row. Here again, as you can see, I insert into my one chain space.
I secure the lace we made for the necktie here with a slip stitch into this wide space. Then I continue to crochet a single crochet into the top of each subsequent double crochet in order. In this way, let's complete this part up to the middle section and come back. In the same way, I crocheted a single crochet into each treble crochet until reaching the middle section on this side as well. I'm in the middle section. I'm not doing anything in the middle part. I directly connect to the first double crochet with a single crochet and continue to crochet a single crochet on top of each double crochet until I reach a chain space. When I reach a one chain space, I make a slip stitch into this one chain space, then I chain 80 plus one turning chain. Afterwards, I make a slip stitch into each of my 80 chains and secure the lace part to this point with a slip stitch into the one chain space, and I will continue with single crochets into the remaining stitches until the end of the row. Let's complete the remaining parts and meet again. I finished the remaining part as I mentioned and finally reached the edge part. From this point, we will knit the edge and bottom parts and finish our knitting at the point where we started, then proceed to make the laces on the back. Here I have also completed my last single crochet. Then I will use these wide gaps at this point. As many single crochets as I can fit. There is no specific number for this point. It's just important that these parts don't ripple. I'm only inserting into the wide gaps. As you can see, I'm inserting into the mesh gaps. I'm not inserting into the single crochets. I don't use the edges of the single crochets, those parts. At this point I made 4. I think 4 single crochets will fit here too. Yes, and the other part. I crocheted 4 single crochets in this part.
When we look like this,
We can see more clearly. Then, in the same way, without changing anything, without cutting or breaking my yarn, I continue again. Here, to the first single crochet I come to.
I make 1 single crochet. By inserting into my next single crochet,
I make a single crochet here as well. I'm coming to the next one.
Here again, a single crochet. I will go around my entire row like this. I will also crochet this bottom part.
I will actually complete these parts entirely and return to where I started, here in the same way again. At the end, we had crocheted 2 double crochets each. Here, I will use the first one to insert into. By inserting between these first double crochets, I will again crochet my single crochets into these parts, and at this point I will slip stitch and finish. Let's complete our edges and see the finishing stage. I have completely crocheted and finished the remaining edges as I mentioned. Here, I also had 2 double crochets standing side by side. By inserting into the wide gap between them, I crocheted 4 single crochets into each. I joined the first treble crochet I made with a slip stitch, and here I will now hide the excess yarn between the stitches, and my crochet is finished this way. In this part, if you want, you can look at your knitting. If it's causing too much waviness, you can do 3 single crochets, or if it's too sparse and far apart, you can do 5 single crochets instead of 4. That will depend on the size of the meshes you made. You can adjust it according to your preference. The model I described here is quite suitable for small and medium sizes, and it turned out to be in sizes that can be used comfortably. If you want to enlarge your size, you can increase the measurements a bit more and adjust it to your preference. In these chain counts, you can extend the lace parts by pulling more chains in the same way, not only when enlarging the size, but if you want it longer, you can extend these lace parts by pulling more chains. This part of our knitting is completed. Finally, we need to make the lace part on the back, which we will thread through these meshes on the back and tie in a crisscross manner. Only this part is left. I'm gently setting my knitting aside.
I will continue with my white yarn in the same way.
I'm taking my white yarn.
I hope at this point it is visible on the screen and you can easily understand it. At this point, I will make a total of 500 chains plus 1 turning chain. Then I will slip stitch into each chain by turning the chains over and inserting into the back loops of each chain. At this point, if we pull our chains a bit looser than this initial setting, when we start, we can knit more comfortably, and if we pull this part too tight, our starting chains, this part, there will be a twist, an inward curl will occur. We will prevent that. As I mentioned, we will pull a total of 500 chains, then pull a turning chain and
Starting from the second chain from the hook.
in total, we will complete the lace part by making 500 slip stitches. If this number is too much for you, you can reduce it to suit your size, or if it seems too little or too short, you can extend your chains further and adjust accordingly. Let me pull 500 chains as I mentioned.
Then let me do a slip stitch into each one and we'll meet again. I completed a slip stitch into each of my 500 chains. I also did a slip stitch into my last chain. Now I'm making one chain and cutting my yarn. I cut my yarn and pulled out my loop. I tie these two threads together once. I make a knot at this point, then I hide these threads among my stitches. I will have finished. Let me hide my threads among my stitches, and now let's all take a look at the final state of our knitting. We have now completed and finished our knitting. Everything is ready. We made the back lace. We prepared the laces for the neck. We also did the edge decoration. Now let's attach the back laces, the final step, and see.
First, I thread my laces through the gaps we see here.
Then the yarn I took from here, from this side,
The yarn I took from here, I pass it through again in a way that it comes from this side.
Let's pass this through as well.
and finally in the same way again.
I am now threading my yarn through the last hole. And in this way, our knitting is now ready for use. You can also crochet the bikini top in different colors. For example, shades of blue will be very nice. Again, when you add a white border around it, shades of green will also be very nice when you add a border around it. The back part was like this. Let's look at the front part again.
Yes, this is the neck tie part. The part that will be tied around the neck. I can tie it like this, and yes, I can show it.
Our bikini top is ready like this. I hope the video has been clear for you, and I hope you enjoy trying it. I wish those who will knit it ease in advance. Don't forget to follow our channel, like our video, and leave a comment. See you in the next videos. Goodbye.